Hey guys, Martha Mentor here, back with another video. And actually, this isn't a video, this is a podcast. It's a video, but in the form of a podcast. New concept that I came up with. Title, obviously, All Over the Place podcast. Throughout my 14 months on YouTube, when I do live streams, sometimes I kind of dibble and dabble off topic into other things like politics, AI, technology, sports, um, just crypto, stock, whatever. And, I get requests all the time from subscribers and supporters that ask me to build content around other topics. So I came up with this concept, the All Over the Place podcast, so that way I don't mix other topics outside of box trucking together. I don't want to confuse people. So the podcast will, this All Over the Place podcast, I'll be talking about things outside of box trucking. All over the place means exactly what it is. Now, it doesn't mean I'll be all over the place. It doesn't mean I'm going to be in LA, Chicago, New York, Miami. No, I mean all over the place, meaning I'll be discussing topics that'll be all over the place: crypto, stock, sports. If something happens in current events centered around politics, we got an election coming up. If God forbid we have another economic disaster, just whatever. I'm gonna be all over the place. All right. First episode, which what we're on now, the topic is something that this topic is just, I've already had the thumbnail done and the topic, and I just haven't had the chance to really film it. But due to recent events that have occurred on the channel, God is telling me that now is probably the right time to film this and get it out there. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Episode 1. I want to talk about the crab in a barrel mentality in the African American community. I've outlined some stuff and jotted some stuff down that I'm going to lecture, and then I'm going to talk about it at the end. I'm going to give you my solution on how I think the community can kind of curb this behavior and prevent this in the future. So ultimately we all can do better. And I may briefly touch on some experiences that I've had dealing with this and how I've removed myself from, people like that, and just experiences maybe that I've had dealing with this. All right. The crab in the barrel mentality refers to a phenomenon often observed within marginalized communities where individuals tend to undermine or hold back others who are striving for success or progress. The metaphorical image of crabs pulling each other down in a barrel is used to describe the behavior. While this mentality can be found in various contexts, today we focus specifically on its impact within my community, the African American community. To gain a deeper understanding of a crab in a barrel mentality, it is important to consider its historical roots. The legacy of slavery, segregation, and systematic racism has had a profound impact on the African American experience, shaping societal dynamics and individual mindsets. Generations of African Americans faced immense challenges and limited opportunities, creating an environment where success was often seen as scarce and hard to come by. In such circumstances, individuals were forced to compete fiercely for the limited resources and opportunities available. The scarcity mindset, combined with the lack of support systems, fostered a sense of mistrust and a fear of being left behind. Consequently, the crab in the barrel mentality emerged as a survival mechanism where individuals saw others' achievements as threats to their own chances of success. It is important to note that the crab in the barrel mentality is not unique to the African American community, nor does it define the entirety of the community's experience. However, it has been widely discussed as a phenomenon that has hindered progress and unity within the community. One's manifestation of the mentality is the tendency to belittle or undermine others who are striving to achieve success or break free from societal constraints. Whether it's dismissing someone's aspirations, spreading rumors, or actively sabotaging their progress, these actions stem from a fear that another person's success somehow diminishes one's own opportunities. The crab in the barrel mentality can be seen in various aspects of African American life, from education to career advancement, and even in the realm of creative arts. Instead of celebrating and supporting one another, individuals may find themselves caught up in an unhealthy competition, focusing on pulling each other down rather than lifting each other up. However, it is essential to recognize that this mentality is a symptom of a deeper issue rooted in the oppressive systems and historical injustices faced by the African American community. Breaking free from this cycle requires addressing the systematic barriers that perpetuate inequality, fostering a culture of collaboration, and support, and cultivating an abundance mindset that embraces the success and achievements of others as a collective victory. Education and open dialogue. Education and open dialogue play a crucial role in challenging and dismantling the crab in the barrel mentality. By promoting awareness and understanding of historical and societal factors that contribute to this behavior, we can begin to foster empathy, unity, and a shared vision for progress. It is also important to it is also important for successful African Americans to actively mentor and uplift the next generation, which is what I try to do, sharing their knowledge, experiences, and resources. By creating a supportive network that empowers others, we can break the cycle of competition and replace it with collaboration. In conclusion, the crab in the barrel mentality is a complex issue that stems from historical and systematic factors. While it can hinder progress and unity within the African American community, it is not an inherent characteristic, but a learned behavior resulting from generations of struggle and limited opportunities. By addressing the root causes, promoting empathy and understanding, and actively supporting one another, we can work towards a future where success and progress are celebrated as collective achievements. All right. Um, the issue that I've come across being an entrepreneur, right, an African American entrepreneur, is that, and this happens from peers, it can happen from employees. It's happened to me more from an employee standpoint than peers. I've been blessed that the peers that are around me don't have that mentality. Being a successful entrepreneur and hiring your own people, I've dealt with it. I've dealt with, people counting my money. I've dealt with, I've had an employee say, we doing all the work, we making you rich. And, you know, it's strange to me that, when our people work for us, we're treated differently than when they work for other cultures. When they work for other cultures, it seems like going to work for someone that doesn't look like you, that doesn't have this same color skin, is like the way it's supposed to be. But when someone that looks like me works for me, it feels like they're in competition, or they want to be in competition with me, or they want to limit their time working for me because they feel like you look like me, and if you can do it, I can do it. And I've had people, and I've talked about this in the past, that have worked for me, and they tried to duplicate what I've done, and ultimately they fail because, seeing the success, is one thing, but everything it took for me to get there, they didn't see that. A lot of them didn't see that. They only saw the glitz and the glamour. And that's ultimately what they wanted. I remember one guy, that, he wanted to do his own thing, and he wanted to mimic what I was doing. And instead of him going about it the right way, he violated the non-compete clause, and on his way out the door, he thought starting his business, he didn't think he did. He took a few of my employees with him. Ultimately, it didn't work out for him. I spoke on this before, but I'll never forget when I had a conversation with him. I said, the way you're going about it, I don't think it's not right. His response is, Mark, I want to drive nice fancy cars like you. I want to live in nice places like you live in. I want to date beautiful women like you date. And, in order for me to do these things, I got to do this, So he was looking at all the perks and the fruits that my labor had brought me, and he wanted those things. He didn't tell me, Mark, I admire you. You worked hard, and I would love to, build something similar to what you have built. That wasn't his answer. His answer was he wanted all the materialistic stuff. And in order for him to get that, it was just best to tear me down on the exit, badmouth me to the logistics company that he was running for through me. They were bogus too because I had a non-compete with them. So they're soliciting my drivers. Try to take the account on his way out the door, take employees on the way out the door, right? Take my whole blueprint. The reason I found out this guy was exiting is because once he was building a business, filed his corporation, and once he got the trucks, he was still working for me. He's in my truck, so he gets to see the insurance. He's looking at the registration, the insurance. He called Grange, got set up with Grange. Grange is the one who called me and said, Mark, we got to drop this guy from your policy. I'm like, why? What did he do? I mean, he hasn't gotten into an accident or anything. As far as my business concerned, did he do something while he was driving personally, or what's going on? They said, no, he's on another policy and he can't be active on two separate policies. He's on a policy with another trucking company. And they told me the name of the trucking company, and it was his initials, so it was easy for me to put it together, and that's how I found out. The operations manager, or the fleet manager, a few days earlier, when he does his inspections of the truck, he noticed that that particular truck didn't have an insurance card. So obviously he took the insurance card from the truck that he drove every day, obviously took it home and used it for research, called the phone number, whatever. Crab in the barrel mentality. I had that happen to me twice. People counting my money, just trying to sabotage me in any different way they can. And it's just something I've dealt with from an employee standpoint, and it sucks. I get rid of those people. I get rid of people that have no good intentions or no good motives to, working for me, being around me. I just don't want those type of people around. As another issue, well, not even an issue, is a guy that's real successful in real estate, and from the community, from the neighborhood that I grew up in, and he's real successful. Couple Rolls Royces. He's successful in real estate, and from my area, he would be the most successful, and then I would be right behind him. And, things got back to me that, he says, he want to be like me, or he looks up to me, which I don't look up to him. Real estate is not my thing. I have property, but I'm not, a real estate guy. I'm not, just fully involved in real estate. This guy has a multitude of properties. Like one suburb here, he damn near owns half the suburb. As far as property is concerned, he's really, really successful. And, I've, we're cordial, and I've asked him a few times to, kind of point me in the right direction, and he just won't do it. Not only me, a few people have, and he just won't. He won't point people in the direction to get started, to get to the point where he's at. And that's another example of crab in a barrel. And the reason people don't want to help people is because they don't want the next person or the next generation coming up under them to pass them up. They want to be the person at the top all the time because they want to be the person that everybody looks up to, everybody talks about, and everybody admires. All right. They don't want to give people information that can ultimately take that information and surpass them. And that is a big issue in our community as well, which leads me to where I concluded at when I said in order for us to kind of solve this problem, it's our duty to mentor and uplift the next generation. So people always ask me, Mark, why do you give so much free information? You can charge in your space on YouTube. You're more tenured than a lot of these people. They're charging, and you definitely can charge. You can charge more than them. Why do you continue to help people? Because it's my duty to. It's philanthropy. It's definitely philanthropy, but it's also my duty to. All right, when people speak and talk about making change, right? You can speak about it, but if you're not doing the work, then you're just as guilty as the person who's, has a crab in a barrel mentality. How do you start to change the community, right? You have to start with yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got to start with yourself. How do you start with yourself? How do you start with yourself? You can't tell other people we got to do this so our community can be better. You got to start it, and you got to be the initiator within yourself. And the way I've initiated it, myself, is by coming on YouTube and giving out as much free information as possible, doing live streams, doing PowerPoints, doing lectures, spending time talking to people, answering questions, responding to DMs, responding to emails, responding to messages. I do coaching and consultation for a small fee. I don't do mentorships, right? Because my live streams are like a mentorship. I don't, a person can really build a business based off the content that I put out for free. A lot of people come to me. Every day I get at least 2 or 3 testimonials. I got one today from a guy that got his MBE because of me. He got his business launch and he's doing great. And he sent me a long testimonial, let me know how grateful and thankful he was. And it didn't cost him a dime. He did all of this off content that I put out for free. All right. So that's how I'm trying to change that mindset in my community. All right. I know I'm not going to be able to change the whole African American community, but me doing my small part, and if I can get other people to do their part, that's how the ball gets rolling. All right. That's how the ball gets rolling. I've dealt with it in all just business, like I said, by the grace of God, people that are around me, I've never had to deal with that. See, the people that are around me, we build each other up. We build each other up. I have no problem pulling somebody up. And here's why I have no problem pulling somebody up. Because I don't know what's in store for me later on down the line. I don't know what's in store for me later on down the line. I'm an entrepreneur. I could make an investment and it can go wrong. So me and my circle, we pull each other up. We pull each other up. We pull each other up and we try to catapult each other above us. Why? Because I may invest in something later on that may go awry. I may lose everything. But because I was able to pull my homie up and he's doing great, I can take that risk because my homies are up here. And if I take a risk and I lose, my homie's going to pull me up. And vice versa. Me giving information to somebody for free on YouTube, I don't know who's taking in this information. Somebody could take in this information and become the next XPO or RXO. They can take in the little information that I've given them and take that, start something, and take it far beyond I've ever been or they ever thought they would go. They could be surpass XPO, RXO. And then I may mysteriously, magically one day get a certified letter in the mail, and it may be a check with a thank you in it. Who knows? Who knows? The point I'm trying to make is you never know what the future holds for you. So, for instance, like I was saying with my friends, we're always brainstorming, pulling each other up, pushing each other, pushing each other. We're not pulling each other up. We're pulling each other up, and we're, doing this so they can step on your hands and get over the fence. We're pulling up and pushing over. And that's how you as a crew keep rising. And that's what our community doesn't do. A lot of other ethnicities, that's what they do. The Chinese do it. They come over here, they work, they get their businesses, whatever, their beauty supplies, their nail salons, whatever. They put a pot. They all invest in a pot. And then once that pot hits a certain threshold, that's going to bring another family over. Not only is it going to bring them over, now they have enough money to get a business started. They don't have to go work for nobody. This has all been funded for them from their peers. And they're not the only group that does it, So I think I'm going to conclude episode 1 there. I think, this crab in a barrel mentality thing, I think it's, a killer in our community. It's a killer as far as us being successful. We don't own anything in our own communities. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else owns things in our communities. We don't own nothing in our communities. Nothing. And when, somebody's out there saying, yeah, it's the beauty supply, or it's a car wash, this black owned, that's nothing compared to everything else centered around it. If you go look in your community, and if it's 100 businesses in your community, the majority of them are owned by someone other than your ethnicity. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why is we pull each other down instead of pushing each other up. We don't even support our own businesses. Well, man, when I go into black beauty supply, the cost is higher. It's the reason why the cost is higher, right? Because let's say a beauty supply, for instance, mostly is owned by Asians, Koreans, Chinese, whatever, right? A lot of the products that they have in those stores are imported from over there, right? So they have relationships because they speak the native language, all right? Whereas a African American with one sole beauty supply is not going to be able to get that wholesale cost as they would, because they're buying for a multitude of stores, or they have a person buying containers and then they're distributing to their own communities at a fraction of the cost because they're buying volume, right? And because they're buying volume, they're able to get each unit at a way cheaper cost, and then they can distribute it to stores, at a cheaper cost in their, racial ethnicity. Whereas the black person that owns that sole beauty supply is not in that circle, it's not in that network. So they're buying at a higher cost because they only have one store, and they're not in that network where the one guy can buy multiple containers and then redistribute at a cheaper cost. This person has to buy a fewer units at a higher cost, which further puts his, price point, his MSRP at a higher cost. I understand a lot of people in our community don't understand that part of the business. They just see the price and then they complain. So that's why I wanted to explain that to you. That doesn't mean go buy it cheaper. Buy it at the higher price. Buy it at the extra $1 or the extra $1.50. You know what I'm saying? So that you can support that brother or that sister, because they're not in that network where they can get it at a cheaper cost. All right. I understand that because I'm a business person and I understand business. But, it's not that the person is trying to charge you a higher price. It's just like I said, they're just not in that network. So I'm going to conclude episode 1. It might have been a little choppy, but this is a different lane for me talking about other things. When I talk about box trucks, I can just, what I'm saying. So I'm not saying I'm a little nervous, but it's just a little bit different from speaking about box trucks. So I hope you enjoyed episode 1. This is Mark the Mentor, first episode of All Over the Place podcast. Until next time, I'm out.